So today, guys, we are going to talk about the design element called shape. So it's more related to the line that we learned last week. I think you guys know what is line. That's like, as I explained, one point from one, the point is in motion, like the point start from here and it moves all the way there and going to another place. So that's what we call a line. And just imagine now, what is shape? So it's more related to the line. It's like you have the point here and it moves. Let's think about a simple thing like a circle. The point is here. So it has a motion of a circle. It's going all around here and coming to the same point. That after coming to the same point, what we have now, we have a line. Actually, it's a contour. We learn about that one also from the last lecture. So the space within that is called the shape. So as an example, I took a circle. It can be another kind of a line like going like this, but it has to come back to his starting point. So the space in between called a shape. So if we imagine, let's say we have a paper. So if you draw a circle, just for a simple example, so you have a circle here. So you have two shapes here. It's like the shape inside the contour, the circle. The other one is you already have another line here. And there is another shape that is the space in between this contour and the circle. Because we need to know about those both aspects, because we will learn about it like figure and ground. So it helps you how to understand that one as well. So I think you know what is shape is. There are so many shapes you can create. There is no like saying this number of shapes. You can do any number. So most of the time we say we call the shape the name of the form as well. But everyone knows that the shape is more specific for that one, because when we say form, it relates to the 2D and the 3D as well. 2D we can also say form because of the shapes, we call it 2D form. But when you think about the 3D also, we refer to the form because of the organization of those elements. So I prefer to use the word shape rather than using the form. And this is the figure and ground. So figure means when you see, now I told you about in a paper, you have a circle. So the shape, the space within that circular contour, we call it a figure, because but it depends on certain things. Like we can say this the space in between the rectangle and the circle, that space also the figure. It depends in another certain factors like the color, texture. Because let's say you have a black patch in the middle, then you say this is the figure, because that's the one that your eyes just focused on. So the first thing that focused on, like let's say something like you have it something like this in front, you have, so this one we call a figure and this one is called the ground. But the other way around, like say we have a black patch, this is a black card, you have it in front of this white, but there are letters, just don't imagine that there are letters, like black patch just in front of a white background. You see this as a figure, but when you are looking at it, you see also there is a cut. You can imagine like that also. When you are looking at it, you see there is a white paper, someone has cut a rectangle shape, and then you see the black background at the back of it. That's also possible. So just think that the figure and ground, what we say is the figure is the one that is in front most of the time. You can see it in here. See now this black, these shapes we call the figure, and this white background, we call it as ground. But when you are looking into this image for a certain amount of time, you see now this white paper, someone has cut this shape here to see the black background at the back. So then what comes the figure? This white paper. So it can goes like, you can say, someone can say the black is the figure and the white is the figure in a certain situations. It's because of our eyes. You can see it in when we move towards the end of the lecture, you see some images, how it happens. See this one, you have the two idea, like this is the figure and ground. Someone can say this is as the figure, this black one. Someone can say this white paper, someone has cut this black shape. So this will work as the background, this will work as the ground, and this will work as the figure. There are two meanings to a same picture. See, yeah, here we don't have to go. See, this is also talked about in the Gestalt theory as well. See this image when you are looking at it, but when you are looking at this one, you see the same contour, but you see this as a figure here, but you see this has a two faces works as the figure here. It most of the time it depends also the background what you have, because there is no contour line defining the face. So your eyes will focus on the one that has the total outline contour here. You will see the face the first time, and then you will see the faces. But here the faces will come first, and then you will try to find these lost and found lines here. So most of the time, the 2D artworks, we use the shapes. You see, most of the artists use shapes, but there are different times you use the abstracts, and sometimes you use the natural, the outline of certain elements. You can, we will go through it when we go in the lecture further on. See here. But when we talk about the 3D things and the artwork, we most of the time use the shape, and in the 3D things we use the mass and the volume, because when you turn this 3D element, you see different, you can give different messages. Like that's why I told you in the first project, which side do I have to look at, because if you are looking at in the front, it gives a different meaning, and if you turn it around, it gives different meaning than what you're thinking of. So this is the same, these two artworks have done by the same artist. The artist called John Miro. These two, this artwork and the 3D model called the Moonbird. Just look into it, Google it, and just see. This is a great example of how the 3D elements will change. See, this one has the Toron, T-O-R-O-N. In a one component, it has these 5 letters around it. But when you are looking at the in front, you see Toronto. You read it as, but if you turn it around, it will give different words. So that's why I said it's the 3D, in a 3D element, it's important the angle or the point you are looking at. There is another artwork is called installation art. That's like you use the 2D and the 3D both together. So it's like you use this one when you are doing your interior, the interior design students will have this kind of experience in the future, and about the merchandising also, because it's like the 3D element itself, see the connections between the 2D components. So you use walls for your painting. When you are doing interior work, you use the walls for your painting, certain paintings. So how you place them, that's more important also. You cannot just put, say here, oh, I will just put images like here. Some graphic works on walls, and some in the merchandising field as well. For the marketing purposes, you use the walls, use certain boards. So it's important to know about this artwork as well. So this is another thing, like naturalism and distortion. It's like naturalism and idealism. Naturalism is something that the artwork or anything that we do as it is, like the let's say now here, if someone draws it, the person draws every detail and everything just like in real world. But that doesn't mean, sometimes in our I'll talk about it a little while, but just think that now if we distort it a little bit and draw it in a idealism way, that is, we change the naturalism, the style, the natural style, it will help you to give the message rather than in the natural form. So here what the artist has done is, see, now got an image, this portion is totally as it is, but he used to abstract some shape just to show that the connectivity. So this is a small example, but we will see here. This is a good example. See, the natural, the real figure is something like this, without this parts coming out like distorted. But in this manner, what you get an idea of like speed, and he's in action. So it's better to do something like this and use this kind of a abstract or distorted method to convey your message more comprehensively. So we can use that as here in the the student who do the fashion designing, textile, they can get the benefit of these things, because this is actually not the natural way of a figure, but see, but it helps when you want to give an idea like the linearity, to emphasize those things. You can use this type of method rather than just having the natural figure as it is. And this is also benefits for the merchandising people as well. This one I will just skip this one for the time being, because this one will come later on with the colors. Let's go to this one. Yeah. Logos is another important graphic work. Do you guys know why we use logos rather than just having, okay, we can say Airbnb, so see here, or everyone knows about the Nike. So why can't we use the word and the total description of it rather than having a logo? Can anyone say why we use logos? Anyone have an idea? Nike, what they has? Just a tick. So the logo is something that your mind, something that you can remember easily without having so many details in it. But if you see a natural image like something like this, without having something like this, if you have representation of a simple graphic or simple form, it will remember in your mind rather than this whole details and all that. So that's why here we use logos. Nike, when you see this symbol, just you know what it is. So that's also important. That's why the abstraction artwork comes on. See the Airbnb, they have only this logo. When you know about it, one time you see it, the next time you know what it is. You don't need to see about the details, all those things. You know about this Walt Disney, the logo, just simple thing with a line. That's it. So the logos should be as simple as possible, but using simple forms. See here, but it should be represent all the points and bit and pieces there. So if you just go to this site and just look into this video, you can see, try to give the whole idea, like the people, places, love, Airbnb, all the things here. It looks like a A shape, so you get an idea about the A, and the location, it gives like the point. The logo should have all those aspects as well. Let's go to, this is another example. This has done by Pablo Picasso. He's a Spanish artist. And see here, just use the simple, this is a bicycle handle. Just with that one, what you get, what you see here, what anyone can say what it is. This one, the image, what shows, what you get it, right? Yeah, a bull. See, simple form, just showing the main points of the animal, but without having the detail like eyes, the mouth, and nothing, just the outline form of it. So just see, if you guys given a if you guys asked to do a logo using the kind of a wood, so you can just see some simple figure, simple outline, some simple contour, using it and having some certain 1 and 2 points of details, you can just express that idea. This is another art form. It's called the biomorphic shapes, using the biomorphic shapes, using that. See here, the artist never used the natural, the real figures. But when you are looking at this image, what you get? It's like a happy thing or sad or something tragic happening. What do you get? What do you think about this one when you are looking at this? Think about the, just when you are looking at it, think about the elements he has composed here. Well, let's say, see, someone is lying down, but he's in a pain, don't you see? And here also, see. So this is an image that the artist Pablo Picasso trying to show. It's about the incident happened on it's incident happened in Spain during their civil war. The German bombarded the city, so it shows the tragic incident of that one. That's showing that the pain that the people are having because of this incident. See, but he never used the natural figures and all those things, but he used the abstract forms to express his idea. So these kind of abstraction paintings are there as well, but here it's sometimes you don't need to give an idea. This is like a graphic card. You can also use the shapes of it. You can use different shapes but just composing and using colors and all that. But it's like a composition. But it's sometimes you don't need to give a message or straight idea onto anyone. See, here is another, it's a logo. It's also a logo, but it gives a certain message as well. What do you see in this picture? I think everyone can identify what it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's milk. It's a brand of a milk in European region. So simply you understand what it is all about. But when you see next time this picture, you know what it is also, because it's very simple way, just the form of the shape of the cow and the fluidity. They showed it in the white. When you are looking at the logos, just also try to find out what are the elements that's your eyes will attract and what it trying to say. Without going into the detail of it, just try to identify it first. Then it will help you to see whether the logo is actually convey the message or not. Because I'm not saying every logo is the perfect. Every logo is perfect, just like it can be. See here, the idea is expressing very well because just you know what it is about. This is another shape, the type of shapes we are using by the designers. This is called the curvilinear shapes. It's like the shapes have no straight lines like the curved lines, and also doesn't have a sharp edges, but it continues. That's why we call it the curvilinear line. This is a interior work done by, I just need to Karim Rashid. He's an industrial designer. You can look into his work also in the internet. Yes, and see some some artwork examples of these curvilinear shapes. See here, the curve shapes doesn't have sharp edges like the points. But you can use also, it combines with the natural figure as well, because this is like a curvilinear shapes, but that's rather than abstraction, abstract form, but also using some of the natural figures as well. So you can have a mix of it. This is another architectural building done by Antonio Gaudi. Antonio Gaudi's most of the buildings are curvilinear. He used curvilinear shapes. This is called La Pedrosa. See how the curvilinear shapes has emphasized the forms. Like see here, it has a unity as well. If you use, you can use the other forms as well, but it needs to have a unity. When you are having these curvilinear shapes, try to have it in a way rather than having it here and here, and you have another box here, so it will not represent the unity. So try to use the shapes also to create the to maintain the unity in your design work. This is also I think this one you know about. This is the Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles, done by Frank Gehry. It also have the curvilinear shapes used, but you have this kind of a sharp edge on that side, but when it comes to bending points, it doesn't have this sharp edges. We can say this is a also a combination of the rectilinear and the curvilinear, but I will explain you the rectilinear further down in the presentation. This is another building done by Antonio Gaudi. This one is called Casa Batlló. See here how all the shapes he used with the curvilinear. So here, see, it's a great example. Here, never try to have the sharp edge. This is another example. This is a lampshade done in a decoration shop called Tiffany, and also the vehicles. See now, this is a great example of, this is an old vehicle you have here. See how the curvilinear shapes used in the old and new. I will show you now. This is an old classic building, classic vehicle, and see, this is a concept car. But in the both of these designs, they use the curvilinear shapes. See here also you have the curvilinear shapes used here, and this is as well. See here, because there is no like a timeline for that curvilinear shapes used in this era and haven't used in this. In any forms and artworks, you use the both of this curvilinear shapes in past and the future, and as well as in the present. And this is the other type of shapes we will come across, like the rectilinear shapes. Rectilinear shape is called like the straight lines. We use the straight line and we have sharp edges. It can be rectangular shapes, but it also can be triangular. But as long as it should be like the shapes created with the straight lines. So here you have two types of shapes. You have the one type of shape like the rectangle, but it's in the horizontal manner. This is a one shape, and this is the other type, like the rectangle shape in vertically. So this building is the Barcelona Pavilion, done by the architect Mies van der Rohe. And there are some example here. This is, everyone knows, the falling water. It's also have these rectilinear shapes, the horizontal shape elements, and the vertical elements using the rectilinear shapes. This is also another example for it. See how the compositions you can do. If you are using a curvilinear shape into these kind of buildings, it's need to be composed in a manner to create the unity in it. So when you are doing your design, think about it as when you are as well how to create the unity, because when you have the circle here, you have the rectangle shapes here and there, you just put haphazardly everywhere, it never gives you the unity. So it's better to know about these shapes and how you use it. Like you can have a curvilinear shape here, but it should have a unity in it. How you are going to have the curvilinear shape connecting these rectilinear shapes. This is an example also for the rectilinear shapes. This is the University of California in Santa Barbara. And see here, now in the fashion designing also, in work like this, you can, this is also how you, this is also rectilinear shapes used, because this is a triangle, but it has the sharp edge and the straight lines. This is also another example. See here, the rectangular shapes and sharp edges. So here, see here, this one, you have the both together, but it composed in a very nice way. From here to here, the whole building has the rectilinear shapes. These windows, this facade, this one. But the front building greatly shows that the curvilinear shape. So he connected the both together very nicely, showing it like this is, as I explained, this is like dancing. It's called Dancing House. Yes, Dancing House, done by Frank Gehry. That's why I said it's not separate. You can also use the both shapes in your designs to convey your message. This one also have the mix of this rectilinear and the curvilinear shapes into it. This is another example having both together, like you have these sharp edges and these flat forms, like for the rectilinear shapes, and you have also the curvilinear shapes here. See, this is like, we are coming back to the previous one, like we talked about the figure and ground. So when we talk about the figure and ground, it relates to this. It's the same like this, like the positive and negative. Then figure, when you're looking at this one, you see first time this one, the fox. So the wolf, and then you see the small boy in the middle. But this one is the figure, and also it calls the positive. And the ground, when we're looking at the ground, we see this figure here, it calls the negative. So the positive is the figure and the negative is the ground. Another example for this one. This is the positive part of it. So the S by itself, it creates this negative. So this is the figure and this is the ground. This also relates to the Gestalt theory. As I said, it's about lost and found lines will automatically get into your eyes. And here, this is another good example. This is the same building. It's not a building, actually, it's a monument. It's see this both pictures, this one and this one. I don't have a picture in between. When you are looking at in front, see there, it looks like you are it looks like a building have there, but actually it's not a building, it's a two wall done with a distance to show the emptiness as well. So when you are looking at this side, it seems like you have a solidity and some strength to it. You have some the straightforward idea like that. But when you are looking at it from this direction, you see it's something like this. But this image is from the bottom to top. But when you are standing in here, you see a gap in between those two walls. It's like there is nothing. So the building is in front, it looks like a building, but from the side there is nothing, just the two walls. So you can give two different messages, but it tried to show, because this monument is called Oklahoma National Memorial. Yeah, it's this monument is in the Oklahoma National Memorial Museum. It's about showing about the casualties, the remembering of the war heroes, as I. So it's given like they are giving an expression like their work, or but now we have an emptiness inside as well. So you can use these rectilinear shapes, these shapes, forms, and gaps in between to give your idea very comprehensively. These are some of the examples done using these curvilinear shapes. And here, see, this is so when you are using shapes also, just imagine spaces using of these rectilinear shapes in distances, also giving you a different idea. Here it shows some emptiness because of the height of this building and the width. I just trying to ask you now, when you are going into a church, why every time the church, the roof, I mean, some without intentionally designed churches, no, I'm not referring to those things. I am referring to the churches having higher roof. Why they are trying to have a higher roof, having a vertical space higher than the horizontal distance? Anyone have an idea about it? it tries to give you the emptiness of your life and what you have to do, like the spirituality. It creates by the height of the building. When you are going to this one, you are like a small, you feel like you are small according to the church because of the height and all that. So these shapes you can use to express ideas like that in the architecture field, in the interior, and also in the fashion and the merchandising. So think about this one as well. This is like isolation and integration. So we did something like this in our last lab session using forms, and I asked some of you guys to connect it with each other. Why? Because see here, now it's represented by itself only. Just see here, the figure is here, this is the background. But if you connect it with some lines and having the continuity with the other elements, you see here now this one, this black, okay, works as here it's a figure and this is the ground. But here it's the figure, this is the ground, but it also gives another idea, like this one you have a cut here, and also you have this whole thing works as one element in this whole background, total one. This one also another example, you have here this figure works as the this works as a figure and this is as a ground. And when you are having these two lines here, this whole white patch works as the figure and this one as the ground. So it has a connectivity with all the elements. So it's better to have a connectivity with each other rather than having like these isolation forms. And we use the shapes to emphasize the shapes. We use a few techniques like light and shade. See here, when you are trying to emphasize this shape of this figure, you use the darker hatches, and at the same time you are using the light color at the other side. So this line emphasizes here, and then your total shape coming out of it. Sometimes you use like this. See here, you cannot see the outline properly, but giving, as we said, we learn about it like lost and found lines with the Gestalt theory as well. You automatically in your mind, it creates the outline of this one. But to do that, we also has to emphasize certain lines in it to give the whole idea. Yeah, that's all. Anyone have any issues about, you need more about knowing about the shapes and all that? No. Okay, so what we now do is time now. Yeah, it's enough. You guys can go to, just go to your home page, go to your week 5. Here you have the quiz 1. You can start it now. You have 15 minutes. I don't think you'll need that much time. So you can just start it now and submit that one. And I have another thing, just a reminder to tell you, your 3A project will have a verbal presentation during this week, your first lab session. I accidentally told to the 20546 students to submit it. Then I realized there is a verbal presentation to be done. So we will have it on Tuesday. Others will have it on Monday, and 20547 students will have it today. And the other session is tomorrow evening. 20545.